welcome back to another episode of the Footy Social. Last week, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch our Premier League predictions. We were actually with Boyd and Jacob. There's four of us on that one. It's quite interesting to see where we put everyone. Bit similar to last year, but there was a few mix and matches in there. And also Boyd had some very, slightly, a little bit off.
Yeah, I mean, ambitious is what I'd call him.
I mean, the weekend did not prove him right either, as they crashed out to a 2-0 defeat away to Bournemouth. But today, as it's the 30th Premier League, we have decided to do our all-time Premier League team between us. We're not going to do an individual ones. We're just going to argue between us to who we think we are going to pick.
Now, obviously, I'm 22. Joe is 23. So we haven't been around watching the Prem for 30 years. So this is just going to be purely if someone comes in and says, "No, honestly, swear on my life, Dennis Irwin was better than Ashley Cole." We don't have a single response to that. So we're not going to be picking Dennis Irwin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be players that we've had the privilege of watching in the Premier League.
I mean, as much as I've heard good stuff about like Andy Cole and strikers like that, and even to an extent, Alan Shearer. I know we got the end of his career.
I guess there are some players that you don't.
But we just didn't watch enough of him to put him in.
Yeah.
So mainly it's going to be from like the last 15 years, but we got the end of like some great players' career as well. So we'll try and see if you agree with it. If you don't agree with it, then let us know in the comments.
Or if you're 40 and you have actually watched these players live, then
you can tell us that
you can tell us the actual answers that you believe in. But I mean, if we talk about the Premier League, we might as well have a quick recap of the opening weekend. I mean, I'm not sure we've learned anything new really. I think maybe that.
I think a couple of things new actually. Not at the top. I think we've done the bottom. I think Fulham.
Yeah,
you wrote them off last week.
I did. I've had absolute pelters from
Scott,
from our resident Fulham fan, who we did a Fulham special with
about a year ago.
When
they're in the Prem, so it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, "We're going to do much better. Watch this space." And we were like, "Still not sure," but they look good actually.
I mean, I have to be completely honest. At risk of a guy who's a host on a football podcast, at risk of sounding like an idiot, I still thought Scott Parker was their manager last week.
Really?
Yeah. It was only when it suddenly said Scott Parker's men batter Villa, I was like, I've made a grave error here.
You just don't have any opinions on the Championship.
No, I mean, I watched some Middlesbrough games for George, but I saw Scott Parker is just a Fulham guy in my head. So apologies for that. To be fair, I think if I'd known Marcus Silva, if I'd remembered, I knew he was the manager. If I'd remembered he was the manager, I might not have changed my tune so much. I maybe would have put him 18th instead of 19th, but I'm still going to back my guns that I still would say they would get relegated. But yeah, they looked very good. They looked very well coached. And I mean, a player like Bobby Reid, who's had a few cracks at the Prem before, different clubs. I mean, the fact that he was actually causing trouble to Robertson.
Fulham, but
no, he was at Cardiff before, wasn't he? That was when he was Bobby Reid.
He was at Cardiff.
And now he's Bobby Decordova, which is a nightmare to
Bristol City before that, but that wasn't in the Prem.
Yeah.
Fulham looked very good. Actually, I'm looking forward to watching more Fulham games. There's some teams that you see alive and you're like, blind.
I think it's still early to completely rewrite and say, right now, they're definitely staying up. I think I'd like to see, if they play like that, with that intensity and that...
Every single game, they're staying up.
Against any of the worst teams in the league, like they're like the Villas of this league, wink, or the Bournemouths, they will probably batter them. The way they played, I was really impressed with them. And Mitrovic looked like he had a point to prove. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've never seen Van Dijk struggle that much that I can remember. Mitrovic was giving him hell all game, and this is a Championship striker. Really.
I mean, he scored 40 goals last season, and I mean, he still only scored 5 goals, but he got 2 goals at the weekend. If he's their penalty taker, you're guessing he's going to get more than 5, which is what we predicted. I think Dan said 5 goals last week. And
5 or 8, I can't remember. One of the
5 or 8, between that. And keep staying at the bottom, although they're not at the bottom at the moment, staying at teams that are newly promoted. We talked a bit about them earlier. Bournemouth, it wasn't as shocking. I didn't watch the whole match because it wasn't live, but I did catch the highlights, and I mean, they looked like they did okay.
But the issue was, so did Watford at the beginning of last year, beating Villa on the opening day.
Yeah, true. I mean,
and then it sort of tailed off.
I still
don't think that squad has enough quality in it. Like, I don't see Solanke scoring many goals, but I can see Mitrovic scoring goals.
Kiefer Moore scored over the weekend. He might be their number one, but they do. who knows? Yeah, true. I think Bournemouth. I mean, Villa aren't exactly anything that special either.
No, I mean they're not the benchmark you want to hit in the Prem. But I mean, they did have a lot of hope. Not just Boyd. There were actually outside shouts. I mean, there are some YouTubers that were actually putting them in like their top
not even
6,
Villa fans putting them in their top 6 and 7,
which was very optimistic.
I think they're so. I mean, are you right in saying they're probably the most overrated team in the league?
Well, I think the weekend has completely undone all that, because now the only media I'm seeing about Villa is completely negative. That Gerrard, it's going to fall apart.
But before every season for the last 2, if not 3 from Boyd, we're getting top 6.
Yeah,
and they're nowhere near the last 2 seasons.
That's apparently been their ambition from the owners, but I didn't see that on the pitch. And I think if they stick with Gerrard for too long, it may become an untenable situation, and that will leave them. It's like Dean Smith last year, where they sort of tried to cut it early, but it still wasn't enough time. And Gerrard, clearly at the moment, isn't the guy to get them back. And also down the bottom, Leeds.
I know, good win for them.
They got a very good win.
Again, is it because they probably did play well, but I think Wolves have regressed quite a bit. They did sign Guedes,
for about 40 million. I don't know about
Collins.
that.
They've let Cody go, let their most experienced player,
I think
go.
apparently it's because they're trying to switch to a back 4.
Yeah,
I've always associated Wolves with a back 3, so that's why
I think they could struggle with Wolves this season after I didn't even watch it. After seeing that result and watching the highlights, I don't know. You've got to ask Wolves fans who watched the whole game how they looked.
It's a thin squad. I think they need to get a lot of. I don't think they need to get big money signings. I just think they need to just flesh out the squad, because, as you said, they've let go 3 or 4 good rotation, and it looks like Gibbs White will probably go as well. He's got a lot of interest on him.
Everton,
yeah.
I think.
I think they do need.
Ryan has always said that he's never gotten well at Wolves. Like, there has always been so much hope for him when he won the World Cup of England at the age of 16 or 17.
Yeah. Since
then, he's just had a few loans where he's actually looked good on his loans, but he's never looked good in a Wolves shirt. And his girlfriend apparently is a bit likes to talk.
I think the issue is he's a number 10, isn't he? And Wolves don't play with him.
Well, they didn't, but they do now.
Apparently so. So maybe there was a space in there. So that was the issue with Vitinha as well, wasn't it? That they didn't really want to play him because they didn't trust him in a midfield too. But yeah, I think Nottingham Forest respectfully look as good as relegated already. It was kind of a toothless performance, really. Yeah, again, I reckon for Forest, though, it's going to be their home form. Possibly, that place could be a fortress. We haven't seen it yet. I'm going on Sunday, my first ever time up to the City ground. Yeah. But if they're going to stay up, it needs to be that home form. Like I said, I mean, we didn't actually put them to get relegated last week, but they got so many players. How are they going to get all those players to get in tune that quickly? It's just going to be a bit difficult. They're going to need at least 2 seasons at it. Yeah. They're not, and Newcastle just look quite a solid performance, and they're looking like. And I still think they'll get some good. Half, definitely. I still think Newcastle will get some signings over the line before deadline day as well. Definitely, yeah. I mean, we've still got what? It's the 10th of August today, so they've got 3 weeks still to make signings for everybody in the league. So there's so much to go. Yeah, and I mean, Chelsea might make a few big signings. I mean, we're talking about Aubameyang at the moment. I'm not too hot on that. And De Jong, and talking about Chelsea, I mean, it wasn't the most assured performances on the weekend. It never is against Everton, though. Realistically, a big club coming to Everton is always going to be a rough game, isn't it? They are Duncan Ferguson. Everton. Yeah, I mean, Lampard literally now just plays what he probably should. Yeah. It's just like it is basically Duncan Ferguson's their manager, and then when Everton will play teams who they're supposedly better than, I imagine they'll try and play some football. Yeah. But yeah, against Chelsea at Goodison is always a tough game. I never cared about the performance. I wanted a win, and we got a win. So that's all there is to it. And next week, obviously, is the big one. So we've got Tottenham at home. Tottenham, I think they're probably the most overly optimistic media team, not from Tottenham fans specifically. I mean, Tottenham fans are like, but I mean the rest of the media, 3rd or 4th, but the media is like, we could win the league. TalkSport talking about title challenges. Yeah, no, that's obviously probably for clicks. I think to get people to call in and get listeners in. But I mean, but there's no smoke without fire. Like, people do think the Conte effect is a league title and nothing else. Like, I don't know. Not league. No, I mean, not league title. They're not. No.
I can't see it.
I know.
I mean, I heard
also, I
Tottenham
don't
fans
think you
say
can
the
read a
same.
lot against Southampton either, because they probably do have the worst defence in the Prem, aside
Yeah.
from the newly promoted teams. Of the established
Spurs,
Prem teams.
Spurs do have it in them to score like 4 or 5 goals at home to a lower league side.
Yeah, and Hassan Hutel has never been able to coach defence in his entire career.
Yeah.
So they always get battered. So, I mean, talk about the game next week. Do you want to do our big match predictions?
We haven't got through every game from last weekend yet. I'm trying to think. We've not talked about Man United.
Oh, I mean, but no one really wants to talk about Man United. That's the issue. It's just
So we can go through it quickly.
we thought they'd have a stinker. It looks like they're probably going to
I thought they'd
stinker.
look just unprepared, not ready. Brighton looked how I thought they were. Graham Potter has to be our England manager. I mean, the football they play is the football I want England to play.
I think the issue is with Graham Potter. I think if we make him England manager, seeing him coach 4 games a year would be a bit of a waste of his talents at the moment. I can't believe I'm saying this after the stick I've given him. But the issue is, the stick I gave him 2 years ago was when he couldn't win a game. And the media love it.
He drew every game. He played nice and one lost.
Yeah. So I think he's very much wizened up over the years with experience, which is what I hoped would happen, because now they're playing good football and winning games. And I mean, that Moises Caicedo, I mean, I'm just annoyed we didn't put him as our, because we loved him last season. He only played about 3 games last season, but he was unbelievable in all of them games. I'm annoyed we didn't put him as our surprise package, but what a game he had.
He's not that surprising anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, he's a headline maker now.
Yeah.
So I think that everyone's talking about they're losing Cucurella and they're losing Basuma. I don't think Basuma's a loss. They've got Caicedo. It's just ready-made, just there. That's it. That's the Basuma replacement already.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Exactly. I think.
Yeah, and I think a left wing back is never that vital to a squad. So I don't think Cucurella's going to have.
No, I saw a TikTok of some Brighton fan made, and it was like, we can lose Basuma and Cucurella, but one man we can't lose is Graham Potter, and probably would agree with that.
Yeah, so I would love to see it like Graham Potter doing a dual job, where he is managing in the Prem and England. Would never happen, obviously.
Oh yeah, doing like a career mode. Yeah,
career mode things. This never happens. I think the only time I ever remember it happening was Goose Hiddink was our manager, and he was also manager of Russia at the same time.
Oh really?
But that was about 15 years ago at this point. So I don't think it will ever happen at a top national team, because it is a lot of pressure. I mean, having the England job is a lot of pressure as well, and you'd obviously get accused of having your favourites as well when he's picking Lewis Dunk and Adam Webster as his back four.
Did you pick Haaland as your top goal scorer?
I did not. I think I went for Harry Kane.
I went Kane.
I went Harry Kane. I mean, it is the unknown quantity. Would Haaland adapt? It's taken 90 minutes to know, okay, this boy's going to score goals. I never truly doubted him. I was just wary. I was like, I want to see one game and then I'll make a decision. I mean, that's it. He's going to score goals. It's ridiculous.
City, we were average. We weren't great. Yeah. They were good. They weren't nothing special. They had 2 chances and Haaland scored them.
Yeah, it's devastating, isn't he, Haaland? It was scary. The way he opened up his body at that speed and just... Yeah. It was like he's playing FIFA.
I mean, I was on the ground, but I was like, I was a goal.
Yeah.
From where I was sat, and then we've got a few more other games to fit in. I mean, quickly, Arsenal looked good for the first 20 minutes against Palace. Yeah. If Palace could finish, I think it would have been a different result in the end, but it wasn't. Arsenal managed to get the win, and they look good. I think they could definitely push for top 4, if not get it. But it's a long season to go, and we talked about Arsenal last week being the most bipolar team going, which is still true.
Yeah, I still don't trust Arsenal in the big games. Yeah, I'm afraid.
They still have like a 3-0 loss away at Bournemouth in them, for example.
Yeah, something like that, where just things start going wrong and their heads do lose. And then the final game of last week was Leicester Brentford, which respectfully is kind of just a mid-table battle. I mean, Ivan Toney he's very good, isn't he?
Yeah, did Leicester take a 2-0 lead in that?
They did, yeah, and then Ivan Toney literally dragged them back. And I'm sort of thinking now, it's sort of like, I haven't heard any rumours about Ivan Toney this whole summer.
I think he's going to stay.
If we're going for Aubameyang, why wouldn't you just chuck 40 million at Brentford for Toney?
Different strikers. I think Tuchel tried the whole big Lukaku last time.
Toney is not a big man. Toney is not a big man.
I know he's different to Lukaku, but...
Toney is a link-up player.
I really like Toney.
I think if Toney had pace, he would kind of be like a Memphis Depay type player. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, he is like a pure number 9, but also he can do that creative role. I really like Toney.
Be more getting behind.
Yeah, Aubameyang, I can't see him touching the ball.
I think they've just whacked like 60 million on Toney, which is fair enough.
That's probably what's putting everyone off. Yeah, I mean, if
But
I was Todd Bowley, I would throw money at the ball for Tony much more than Aubameyang. But
shall we get into our predictions for next week? Have you got the fixtures out?
Yep, I do. So we've already.
Rattle these.
So I'll check. There's no Friday. There's no Friday games. Yeah, there's no Friday games. So the first game of the weekend is Aston Villa Everton. Relegation battle, isn't it?
It is.
So Aston Villa are at home. I mean, they have to bounce back. I don't think Everton have to bounce back, in that it was a respectable performance against us. They did all they could to make the game hard for us. That's all you can truly expect.
I think it's the worst two managers in the league facing up against each other.
Basically,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you could ask maybe Hasenhüttl or something down there.
So it's basically yes, and when that's happening, when it's two managers of equal level, it's whichever team wants it more. And at the moment, Aston Villa look disjointed. They look like they're not really playing for Gerrard. And Everton are a team that is, for all you can say about his tactical acumen, Everton are fighting for Lampard.
Yeah,
that's all you can say.
They are. Lampard. If I look at both of them, I mean, I don't really. I feel like if I'd rather play under take tactically out. They're both tactically not very good. Yeah. If you want to play under a manager, I think Lampard would get you up for games a bit more, and you'd rather 100%. Play for him than I'd rather play.
I mean, the fans already love him when he hasn't actually done anything.
Yeah, I mean, Villa fans I think quite like Gerrard as well. You know what?
No, they're turning against him because of the whole Mings thing. I think they prefer Mings to Gerrard.
I think Villa seems a little bit unsettled. I'm going to go. I'm tempted to go for an Everton win, but I'm going to sit on the fence a bit. I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay, I'm going to go 2-0 for Everton.
To Everton.
And I think one thing that Everton need is Calvert-Lewin back. Not because he's Calvert-Lewin.
They have had some big injuries. They got Mina and Godfrey out.
Yeah, Godfrey's. Yeah, that was the Lino's fault for not calling when the ball was about 20 yards offside, but off the pitch, but it's gone. But I think the reason they need Calvert-Lewin back is Anthony Gordon's delivery is unbelievable. He's one of the best crosses in the Prem.
Yeah.
Like every time I watch him, every single cross he puts in is unbelievable. And at the weekend, he was whipping crosses in that. Like him. It was like Dwight McNeil and Iwobi in the end of. If it was Calvert-Lewin, we could have been 2-0 down. Some of the crosses he puts in are ridiculous. But yeah, I'd still go for an Everton 2-0. And then we have Arsenal-Leicester. And a few years ago, this is a battle for 5th or 6th place.
Yeah, I mean, someone say home banker. I think they'll scrape it, Arsenal. I think they'll be brought down to earth a little bit. Leicester might turn it on after the result. But I think they'll scrape it 2-1 home win. Okay,
I'm going to go for a 2-0 Arsenal. I think at the Emirates, Arsenal are very good. I think it's just the open spaces they have where basically it's a big pitch at the Emirates, and Arsenal do play good football on the ground. I think Jesus will probably enjoy himself for the weekend. So I'll say 2-0 Arsenal. Then we have Brighton Newcastle. It's the battle of the high flyers.
Both teams started off really well.
They've got a lot of energy. They've got a lot of optimism. I think I might sit on the fence here and say a 1-1. I think they're both two good teams. I don't think there's anything to separate them at the moment.
I think there's going to be a couple more goals in it, but I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay. Man City Bournemouth. Right, so how many is Haaland getting?
I'm going to go 5-0 Man City. I mean, it's no disrespect to Bournemouth. Yeah. Man City is so good.
Man City at home against a relegation team.
Usually it's a 5-0, isn't it?
It's 4-0 or 5-0. Unless you're Southampton somehow, who get 0-0s there sometimes. Yeah. But or Palace always do well there. But every other team in the league, you said 5-0, I'll go 4-0 then. Undercut you by 1. Then we have Southampton Leeds. I mean, this could be a 4-0. Because I mean, neither teams like defending, do they?
I'm gonna go a home win. I can't see Leeds getting 2 wins on the trot.
Okay.
I think home advantage 3-1 Southampton. I think it's going to be goals.
I'll flip it the other way. I'll go 3-1 Leeds. I think that may be one of them games where we can't see Leeds winning, and
we actually said Leeds are going down.
Yeah.
And you're having them to win their first 2 Premier League games.
Well, I wouldn't have said they were going to beat Wolves last week, so that's why I'm sort of evening it out. I think they would have got one win out of 2. Then we have Wolves Fulham, and Wolves are at home. And I mean, off that performance last week from Fulham,
Fulham look surely a favourites going. They won't be because of home at Banker and Wolves being.
Yeah. And you don't know whether Fulham are going to be as fired up for a game against Wolves as they were against Liverpool. Like, they were clearly excited. First game back in the Prem, they want to show their worth.
I think Wolves don't score much. They don't concede much. It's going to be a tight nitty gritty game. I'm gonna go 0-0.
Oh, I wanted to go 0-0.
We can go the same.
I'll go 0-0 then,
Okay.
just to be boring. And then the 5:30 kickoff on Saturday is Brentford Man United. That's obviously 5:30 because they think there could be an upset on the cards.
What, Man United might win?
Yeah. I mean, Brentford are above them, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brentford Man United. I don't know. I think Ronaldo will be back for that. I don't think that makes much difference at this point with the way they play.
No, I mean,
they're still going to be playing McTominay and Fred, which we talked about 2 years ago.
It's a bottom half midfield, isn't it?
I think McTominay would look out of place in the Championship, to be honest. Yeah. I think he's regret. Like 2 years ago, I used to say McTominay was a nothing midfielder. He's got worse. I didn't think it was possible for him to get worse.
Because playing for that team, you're under so much pressure. Every game, it's just like you probably go on the pitch, you're so nervous, and I reckon if you put him in like a Palace, I think he'll just have the freedom to go, there's no pressure on you, lad.
Yeah.
And he'll play better. But man, I think it'd be horrible to play for Man United. That's why I feel so sorry for Maguire, because he has been poor, but at the same time,
I don't think his attitude helps.
So much pressure on him.
I don't think his attitude helps. He likes to deflect the blame a lot, which I really don't like.
Yeah, true.
Maguire.
But
That's
I feel like
issue.
if he stayed at Leicester, he wouldn't be this bad.
No, absolutely not.
But we've got to pick a prediction.
We've actually got to pick a team.
Oh, it's a hard one.
I will go
Brentford,
2-1 Man United.
I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay. I think they'll just scrape it. And then the Sunday games. There's only 2. So we've got your boys, Nottingham Forest against West Ham. I mean, really, that should be a West Ham win.
Yeah, should be.
But again, Forest is
first game
for about 30 years, isn't it?
30 years.
Yeah.
The stadium will be buzzing. I mean, it's going to be early goal. If we get an early goal to silence the crowd, I reckon we'll go on to win. If they get the early goal, I reckon we could get a bit of a hammering. It's hard.
I mean, who are your centre-backs? Have you got anybody fit yet?
Well, Zuma, and then...
Is it going to be Johnson again?
I really hope not, but it might be. Unless we get this Philo Clara in from PSG before the deadline. Then
although again, that's only
Johnson
3 days to get him ready.
I think Dawson's coming back. I don't know if it's going to be this Sunday or for the conference game next Thursday. I mean, if he is fit for the conference game next Thursday, I wouldn't bother. I'd save him for the Brighton game in 2 weeks' time.
Is it you've got to play qualifiers for the conference?
Yeah. We've got Viborg, some Danish side.
Okay, so it should be a win then. I thought being in the Prem, you just get an automatic.
You should. I don't see what I think.
I know, because Tottenham did have to do it last year.
Yeah, they played some
Portuguese
team last year.
Yeah. I'll go 2-2.
Okay.
I think it'll be an exciting game. 2-2.
I'll go 2-1 Forest. And
then we have probably the biggest game of the weekend. I think this game will tell us a lot about both teams. It will tell us.
You going? You're at home?
Yeah. So it's Chelsea at home against Tottenham. I think it will tell us how serious Tottenham really are, because again, we are their bogey team. Although it's weird to call Chelsea, considering we are a better team than them, their bogey team. But one win in 20, I think it's one win in 30 years now, isn't it?
Oh, is that when Dele Alli? Is that just at the bridge? Sure,
just at the bridge. Yeah. So one win in the league in 30 years.
So Dele Alli had like an unbelievable game.
And that was, ironically, Conte was the manager of Chelsea at the time. That was the most spineless game I'd ever seen us play. And I think, I don't know. I really don't know how to call it. I mean, I hope we win, but Tottenham just seem to have a mental block whenever they come to the bridge. They just have this like inferiority complex. They had it last year when we beat them like 3 times in as many weeks. It was just every game they approached like absolutely terrified of us. And I think if they come in sort of, okay, this is a disrupted Chelsea. They've had a weird few months. I'll go for a 2-1 Chelsea win anyway, because I think we are still a better team than them. But I don't know. I really don't know. But I'll go 2-1 Chelsea, just to be optimistic.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 1-0. I'll go a draw.
I don't know whether I'd take a draw. I just want to get as many points on the board early doors, really, just to get the ball rolling.
I mean, a draw mainly stops Spurs getting 3 points.
But it also shows that we're kind of on the same level. And if we beat Spurs, I think that will put a dent in their confidence, and it will get our season really off to a flyer. But
true.
And there's no Monday games. Oh no, there is a Monday game. Sorry, Liverpool Palace. That's a 3-0 Liverpool.
I mean, if there's any team that's going to bounce back, it's going to be Liverpool this weekend at home to Palace. I mean, if I was a Palace fan on a Monday night as well, go all the way up from London, I don't really see if I'll bother.
Yeah, no, it's a 3-0. It's a 3-0 or 4-0 Liverpool. So I'd go 3-0.
Yeah, I'll go 3-0 as well.
Okay, so that is our predictions for the weekend.
Well, next week we'll have a look at them and see who won out of me and Dan.
Yep.
But like we mentioned earlier,
We had quite a few varying. Usually, like last season, it was we were all going for 0-0s and 1-1s together. But I think we had very varying scores there.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I hope I'm wrong on them all because I bet us to lose. So, as we mentioned earlier, we've got the all-time Premier League 11 as we celebrate 30 years of Premier League football.
Yep.
So should we start off with goalkeepers?
Let's get it out of the way.
So let's list off the best ones that we have seen. I mean, we've got Petr Cech.
Yep.
Van der Sar we saw.
Would you put Alisson or Edison in? No, Edison. I don't know why I said Edison.
I mean, they can be talked about, but they've not had
I think Alisson can be talked about way more than Edison. I think Alisson's a better goalkeeper than Edison, but it's only a few years. Tottenham fans will try and pretend Lloris, who's never been a world-class goalkeeper in his entire career.
De Gea could have been there, but he's dropped off massively.
Massive drop-off. So really, it's between Cech and Van der Sar.
Yeah, they're the two. Before us, it would have been Schmeichel, but we didn't watch it.
I did actually get my dad to do his greats, because obviously my dad's a bit older than me, considering he's my dad. He did put Schmeichel in goal, but then I told him that he could have Chelsea players, and he said, well, Cech was better than Schmeichel, so...
Did you originally say no Chelsea players?
I did. Well, I just said best.
I have seen that team before, and it is heavily Chelsea. So, I'm not.
So if I'll take his opinions. I'll take his opinions on the non-Chelsea team to be unbiased. So he said Peter Schmeichel, but in my opinion, I think the differences between Cech and Van der Sar. I think Van der Sar would survive in the modern game. I think he had a lot more string to his bows, and he used to just be a presence. I remember Cech after his head injury wasn't a presence in the box claiming crosses and claiming corners as he used to be. Van der Sar used to just dominate the box. He just had this sort of aura about him where he looked like he was just that guy. It's kind of like Alisson has that similar aura where he just looks so big in the net that when you're one-on-one with him, you do get intimidated.
Yeah.
I think Van der Sar was a lot better on the ball than Cech was.
I think off the top of my head the other day I've had Cech because I've probably watched him play the most out of all of them.
But we also saw in the recent years when he went to Arsenal, he was getting on a bit, but still, Van der Sar was about 38 when he won the Champions League, wasn't he?
Was he old when he won?
He was quite old because he'd been at Fulham.
He was at Fulham,
before that. But yeah, I think Cech on the ball was quite poor. In the modern game, I think Van der Sar would.
I remember watching games against United when I was a kid and just thinking, blimey, that Van der Sar is good.
Yeah.
So I think I was a bit scared of him.
So we're in agreement there. It's probably Van der Sar. I mean, I love Cech. Obviously, I've got a Chelsea bias.
I like Cech as well.
I just think putting my Premier League hat on rather than my Chelsea hat on, I think Van der Sar would survive in the modern game way more than Cech would.
At the end, we'll put our 11 up on the screen. We've got Van der Sar as our first player in goal. Okay.
Should we go for left back? Because that's an easy pick. Realistically,
there's not much argument.
Well, there's Ashley Cole, obviously. Patrice Evra.
Patrice Evra's probably the second.
Probably Robertson. I mean, left back's not a glamorous position. Robertson's probably putting a claim in there.
I mean, Clichy had a good couple of years, but not nowhere near.
No.
It's got to be Ashley Cole.
So it's just Ashley Cole, yeah.
Yeah, there's not much debate there.
I think Ashley Cole was the greatest left back in the world at one point in his career, not just the Prem.
I think he's the best left back you've ever seen.
Yeah, so that's quite an easy one.
Yeah.
And I met him. I met him the other week.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Where was that?
Getting a haircut at A-Star Barbers. Saw Ashley Cole walk through the door. Starstruck.
Whereabouts was that like?
That's in Chessington.
You went all the way to Chester for a haircut?
Yeah, because it's
something
to do.
Barbers,
yeah, it's just something to do. He's an Instagram barber. Yeah, so Ashley Cole was very starstruck. Did fumble my words a bit. So on the other side, we'll go right back, should we?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more debate here.
Yeah.
So there's Gary Neville, we sort of caught the tail end of.
Yeah. Ivanovic,
Aspilicueta, so the two Chelsea ones. Pardon? Zabaleta. And recently, I think if Alexander Arnold has 5 more years of world-class playmaking, I think Alexander Arnold's definitely the highest peak a right-back has ever hit. I don't think a right-back would ever top his peak, just in terms of what he brought. Yeah,
this is what my thoughts are on
when
Trent.
It was peak Trent, he was good defensively and attacking. I mean, he neglects the defending quite a lot. I think
I think
a lot less than people dig on him for. I don't think he's that bad defensively, but he's nowhere near as good defensively as someone like Kyle Walker.
Yeah. Kyle Walker could be in that conversation as well, actually.
Be in there, actually, yeah.
But my opinions on Trent, I'll move away from the mic if it's getting too loud, but I think he's the best player in the Premier League who's ever played at right back, but I don't think he's the best right back.
No.
If you understand that, like technically he's amazing, but as a right back, you want as a right back going up and down both ways, forward and back, he's not the best ever. And I wouldn't say he's technically the best in the world right now.
But I think as that criteria, in terms of being devastating going forward and an absolute brick at the back.
Well, I've got one name in mind.
Devastating going forward.
And I think if you're going to say this one,
I will say it. 36 goals for Chelsea. I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'm going to fact check it, but I'm pretty sure it's 36 goals from right back. And he was a brick Serbian S-house at right back. I'd go Ivanovic.
I mean, he's the best right back I've ever seen in the Premier League.
He was a phenom. He was just a presence there.
I mean, if you're 10 years older, if we're sat here being 32 and 33, then we probably would say Gary Neville. But we literally got tail end of his career.
Yeah, I mean, my dad said Gary Neville just for consistency.
Yeah.
So he didn't actually say it was because of ability.
If we go for consistency, then we probably go Neville. But I watched Ivanovic, even though I'm not a Chelsea fan. But I watched Chelsea games, and I'd always really like Ivanovic, and even though I wanted them to lose most of the time. But Ivanovic, I agree with you.
Okay, so we've got 2 Chelsea boys in there. Now at centre backs, there's a lot of options here. So we got Rio Ferdinand,
John Terry,
Vidic, Van Dijk does have to be in there.
Company.
I mean, back in the day, we've had players like Tony Adams.
Sol Campbell,
Des Walker, my dad's put. I think he was Forest, right?
No idea who that is.
No idea either. But yeah, I think
he's a commentator.
Campbell too early.
Yeah, we didn't.
Tony Adams way too early as well. I mean, I would throw my hat in there and say the first name. I don't know. I mean, I think Ferdinand and Terry are the first ones that come to my mind.
I don't really want to do those two though. I think as a pairing they were poor.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because Ferdinand did have pace. Ferdinand did have pace and ball playing. He was sort of like
true.
Ferdinand.
Well, as a pairing, they weren't that. If you watched them, they might. But as a pairing for England, we never did anything. So.
But we also had Ashley Cole at left back for England. It was a weird national team. I think, again, going off the Trent debate, I think Van Dijk has the highest peak we've ever seen as a centre back.
I wouldn't put Van Dijk in yet.
No.
He is 30, so...
But he is definitely the highest peak we've ever seen. And also, people forget that we had Van Dijk for about 2 or 3 years at Southampton before Liverpool. So he's been in the Prem for about 7 years at this point. I think he must have joined about 2015. So he's had 7 years, which really is less time than Vidic has had.
Yeah,
I mean, more time than Vidic
was playing that top team for longer than Van Dijk has been.
Yeah, Vidic
I wouldn't
has
put Vidic in either.
No.
My 2 would be, I know they're sort of very similar, but I think one's better on the ball. I'd go Terry and I'll go Company, I think.
Terry and Company,
I think both are probably the best, great leaders. Company probably better on the ball.
That would be terrifying as a centre-back pair.
I just think, I think for City, what Company did, he was basically their first. He was there. I think they bought him as a CDM. He was there when they got taken over, or like the year before.
Yeah.
And then he got put in as centre back, and he basically transformed them with the help of obviously other great players. But he was the rock. He was the consistent player from when they weren't very good to winning titles and all those trophies. So Company, and also, I watched Company his whole career, whereas John Terry and Rio Ferdinand, we sort of got them in the middle of their careers to the end. So that's probably why I think Company, because I literally saw his whole career.
Yeah. I think John Terry has to be in there because, in the day, John Terry at the age of about 35 played every single minute of a title-winning campaign.
Yeah.
Which was on 14-15 was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had a long...
I don't know about Company and Terry as a pairing, because they're both captains. Do you know what I mean? Like, they might it could go unbelievable, where it's literally just directing the whole team. They're just...
have you ever had that pairing like that before, where they're both captains?
Ferdinand and Vidic, really.
Vidic like a proper captain? I know he's like a hard bastard.
Yeah, I don't know whether Vidic ever actually spoke English to us. I don't think I ever remember doing an interview. Okay, well, I'm glad that John Terry's in there. I would still put my hat on Ferdinand over Company, but the thing is about Company, the most I seem to remember about him is being injured all the time. I think when he played, unbelievable centre-back, just injured all the time.
I don't think he's that injury prone to not.
Yeah, maybe I'm sort of over the pudding, but I mean, I'm happy to put Company in there. I think that would be a good. I mean, that back line is a presence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ashley Cole, Terry, Company, and Ivanovic. I mean, yeah. I mean, most of the best strikers.
Are we going to go 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3?
I think 4-2-3-1.
Yeah,
would probably be. It's the most common sort of formation. In the last few years, we've seen 4-3-3 quite a lot, but over the Premier League, 4-2-3-1.
So we'll do a CDM sort of one, and should we do a CDM and like a centre mid?
Yeah. So like a
CDM. I mean, players that play
pure
both.
DMs, like, you know, Jorginho doesn't sniff it, but Jorginho is technically a DM, but he's not a pure DM.
Yeah, I mean, you maybe look at Fernandinho.
I mean, Matic had 3 years where he was unreal.
Yeah.
But 3 years isn't going to put you in an all-time 11. And obviously, the ones before our time, Keane and Vieira, were just absolute monsters.
We didn't really watch them.
But we didn't really see them enough. So I think, to be honest, unless we're missing somebody obvious, I mean, I don't think Fabinho's ever touched Fernandinho's heights.
No. Maybe Fabinho in a couple of years' time, but
maybe, yeah. But I think even then, Fabinho hasn't been as good as he used to be a couple of years ago. I think we've got to go Fernandinho there, haven't we? As a pure DM.
It's a pure DM, yeah.
I mean, obviously
Kante's not pure DM. Otherwise, I would go him over Fernandinho. But
although I don't know, I think in a 4-2-3-1. Now I've said it, I would still put Kante over anyone, just as a midfield in. Whoever you put next to Kante will look 10 times better.
Yeah.
So I think in a 4-2-3.
I think Kante's ceiling's been higher than Fernandinho's.
I mean, Kante. I mean, as a guy who's watched my club win 5 Premier League titles, 3 of them I remember every single game to. 2 Champions Leagues I remember every single game. I've been a spoilt fan. Kante's 16-17 season was the best I've ever seen a player play for.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, and he's won everything pretty much apart from the Euros. So
yeah, so I think in a 4-2-3-1 we'll put Kante in then, shall we?
Yeah, definitely. I think it has to be in.
I mean, it's very Chelsea. We've got 4 Chelsea players in there.
I know. I don't feel like you're being that biased either.
But the issue is now we've got past the defence. We're not having any attackers in there. That's always been Chelsea's. That's the thing. We built titles on defence. City and Liverpool have built titles. Well, Liverpool have built a title.
But also, attack. We watched Chelsea at a high level than we've watched.
Yeah, I mean, Man United fell away City, when we were 13. Man United fell away with 13. We stopped winning Premier League when we were 17. I probably watched. My first proper season was probably our first season back in the Premier League with. I went to West Ham games in like 2003 and 2004, but I literally only watched West Ham games. I didn't really care much about other teams in the Premier League. I remember it's when we got promoted, where we got into the Prem. Is the season we got to the final, FA Cup final, so 05-06 against Liverpool. That was my first season where I properly watched like other teams play as well. So from that onwards, it's sort of like we got the end of, well, not the end, like a good probably 8 years of good Man United dominance, to be fair, and good Chelsea teams, and then obviously got into the Chelsea sort of City, Leicester won it, and then obviously now City, Liverpool being the 2 dominant teams. But so we're moving to our centre midfield. So this is kind of like a number 8, basically, isn't it?
So like you could put like a Gerrard or a Lampard.
Yeah, so I think those are the 2 names that come to mind. Gerrard, Lampard. I mean, Fabregas had.
Can you put Gerrard in there in the Premier League 11 if he's never won it?
No.
And all the others have won it.
And I still think Lampard had a better influence on the midfield than Gerrard did, in terms of just doing things. Other box.
I don't know if I'd want. I think there's one. I think it's going to be our first. I mean, Kante actually technically is our first current player. But I think I'm going to have to pick another current player here as an 8. And I know he's sort of could be a 10 as well. But it has to. I mean, he's so good. Kevin De Bruyne.
Well, I had him as my 10 as a banker.
Oh, really?
I'd much rather have him as a 10.
I don't know. He's been playing.
I know he has
role
played
for
deep,
City,
but
yeah.
just sticking him in a number 10 in a 4-2-3-1, just imagine, literally just De Bruyne, just stand there and pass it. It would be 5 assists a game.
We could mix it around the end, but
yeah,
I've got a different. I know he's a striker. This person I'm thinking of, but he can also play 10. But yeah, so as an 8, Lampard.
Yeah.
I mean, he was used to come again. I didn't like him because how he used to like.
I think I know who your number 10 is. I think I've just clocked it. Yeah, I mean,
he always used to score and play unbelievable against us. So yeah, I think I have to throw Lampard in there again. So another Chelsea player, but
I mean, I don't know if we're being dramatic here, but Gundogan probably stakes a claim for the last couple of years. Although actually, that is it.
But he had
just
a
the
huge
last
injury.
couple of years. Yeah, that is it. It's just 2 years.
But yeah, he's playing in a great team.
He is
Any
playing.
Liverpool ones? You'd say not really. I mean, you had Henderson. No,
definitely not.
Thiago's not been there long enough.
I mean, Tottenham sort of had. I mean, Moussa Dembele was pretty good, but I mean, he's not touching an all-time.
Top, no.
He's definitely not touching an all-time. I mean,
is there Man United? Man United ones.
Joe, we're going to kill ourselves. Yaya Toure.
Oh yeah.
He's probably the perfect.
I
Yaya Toure.
I actually thought about him for DM actually, but obviously he isn't.
He isn't a DM.
Toure or Lampard. I mean, didn't we put them in a head-to-head on Instagram? Do you want to find that?
That was the individual seasons, wasn't it?
Oh, it was.
So that was whether Lampard's 29, 09-10
yeah.
we got 16 and 14. I think Lampard further forward. I think I'd prefer Lampard further forward.
I think I had to pick 2 players. I mean, especially in the modern game today, you'd pick Toure, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Toure and Kante as a partnership would be ridiculous. I think I'd go Toure. I kind of want to keep it un-Chelsea-centric.
I'd happily go Toure, yeah. I mean,
Toure
I'd
and
go
Kante.
Lampard.
Yeah. But the thing is, I still would put Lampard in the number 10 debate, and I think there's better number 10s.
So
Lampard was a strange midfielder, wasn't he? He wasn't. Yeah. He was good enough defensively to play DM, never played DM. Good enough box to box to be number 8, but he isn't class in number 8, and he scores so many goals and provides them so many assists. He's sort of just a utility.
So obviously, Kevin De Bruyne is probably the best 10 we've seen.
Yep.
I mean, I want to find a place for Wayne Rooney in this 11.
Yeah, that's who I thought.
Yeah, and obviously up front there's a lot of competition, so which is why I thought us dropping him down into the cam position might have been the way. But we can get on to that. Is there any other like 10s?
I mean,
De Bruyne, obviously. Bruno Fernandes. I mean, definitely not.
Prime Coutinho. If Coutinho never went to Barcelona.
Yeah, and he was still hitting the heights that he was hitting before he left. But he left.
We have the other ones like
progressively worse.
I think Eriksen I think Eriksen's peak was up there with the best of them. That 16-17 season.
Yeah, unbelievable that season.
Absolutely terrifying as a number 10.
I mean,
it just didn't have the consistency.
I know David Silva. Dan doesn't like this shout, but you've got to admit he probably is in the conversation.
Yeah, on pure technical ability. But again, I think the issue with number 10s is that the formations in football change so much and chop and change that number 10s have sort of come in, out, and it's sort of a dying breed. But now it's kind of coming back with like false 9s sort of being the equivalent of like the old school number 10s. But I think it's just got to be De Bruyne, isn't it?
Who's won the most Premier League? Giggs with 11, is it? Giggs won 11?
Yeah, but he's not number 10.
I know, but I'm trying to work out.
Well, no,
De Bruyne has 4.
I think Giggs would have won all 13, wouldn't he?
No.
I think Giggs was there the whole time, from 92 to 2013.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so I think he would have had all 13. But
yeah, potentially.
I think I'd go De Bruyne.
So I was just thinking, De Bruyne has 4, doesn't he?
Yep.
I think he could get 8. I know he's 30, but if they win the next 4, which they could,
probably will, yeah.
Next 4 out of 5.
The Bundesprem.
Yeah. I reckon he could be cementing that position. So we're happy to go with KDB.
Yeah, it's a shame that Rooney probably won't get in there, but I think he was sort of. He wasn't as good a number 10 as Kevin De Bruyne. He wasn't as good a striker as who we're gonna players that we're gonna.
So we'll do striker last, as there's actually quite a few to.
Yeah.
Be up for. Should we go left winger?
Left winger. So
I mean, I'm gonna say his name first, but I think Eden Hazard.
Eden Hazard's definitely had the highest
inconsistencies there.
Eden Hazard's definitely had the highest
can't
peaks
go
of
in.
any left winger we've seen.
I mean, we got the end of Giggs. I mean, he scored 3 goals one season. Personally, I think obviously he was a great player, but
he was more of a utility man.
And because he's a scumbag, I'm not putting him in this 11.
That is very true. I mean, Ronaldo again.
Didn't do enough years, in my opinion, to get in this.
No, we're a bit.
And
too,
last year he wasn't great.
No.
Even though he scored a lot of goals, but
I mean, so really, it's between Sadio Mane and Hazard, probably.
Mane, Hazard. Is any City ones? I mean, Nasri.
I mean, Sterling.
Any other Chelsea ones?
Sterling's been their main left winger for a few years.
I'm happy to sort of shove Rooney out there as like a
left forward.
As like a left forward, yeah.
Cutting in on his right. I mean, he had a great whipper of a shot on him, didn't he?
Just to try and shoehorn him in, because I don't really fancy putting Mane or Hazard in there, to be honest. I feel like there's a bit, considering players that have played in the Premier League.
I mean, I think as a pure left winger, Hazard was the best that we've seen.
At
but
his peak.
The main issue I have with Hazard, I know we talk about Hazard so much, it gets so boring, but it's just the fact that this is a debate is the issue about Hazard. It shouldn't be a debate. We should say best left winger the Prem's seen in the last 15 years. It should be Hazard. It's a drop of a hat. But it isn't, because he didn't ever want to push himself.
Hazard, yeah.
He didn't ever want to push himself to that level. And obviously he was unbelievable. One of the, probably the top 5 players I've ever seen at the club, but he should be up there. He should be Messi, Ronaldo's. He should. It's same with Neymar, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Neymar should be touching Messi.
Neymar should be touching Messi and Ronaldo, but
it's
nowhere
just
near.
if you don't have the attitude for it, it just shows what freaks Messi and Ronaldo
I've got a
really
shout
are.
at left wing, even though he's more a right wing, but could play left wing.
Yeah.
Bale.
Ooh.
I know he had his best years at Real Madrid, so that's probably what I'm thinking. No.
Yeah.
But he was unbelievable for 2 seasons. He was unbelievable.
Just every single shot.
Did he win
went in.
He won the Premier League Player of the Year.
Won the PFA twice.
Did he? Yeah, twice those 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean 12-13 Bale was ridiculous. It was literally he'd get the ball, hit it, goal. Get the ball, hit it, goal. That was ridiculous.
But if we're going to try shoehorn Bale in, I'd rather shoehorn Rooney in.
Yeah. So let's go for a 4-3-2-1 where it's narrow forwards.
Yeah.
Which will make sense as to why we're putting Salah on the right forward, right?
Salah has to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, as another good shout, I'd maybe go Mahrez for what he's done at Leicester and Man City. But I'd say Salah.
I think Mahrez. Yeah, I mean Mahrez as Leicester is way more impressive than City's Mahrez, because I think Mahrez. Anybody who's unbelievable at City apart from De Bruyne in the last few years has just sort of been because you're playing for Pep City. Do you know what I mean? You just sort of get boosted. I think if you put Mahrez...
I mean, there's some great, absolutely unbelievable players as well.
But yeah, I think Mahrez... But it is just Salah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's got to be Salah. Yeah.
The consistency he's shown, where it's literally 30 goal seasons, back to back to back to back to back. And he's going to be another 30 goal this season. It is terrifying.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Got to be the best right-sided player to play in the Premier League that we've seen anyway. Are we missing anyone? There's probably players in the comments that will be brought up, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, forgot about them.
I don't think there's many right wingers. Really.
I don't mean right wingers. I just mean every position. But I mean, we if we were sat here thinking, then we'd be here for ages. Let us know if we do miss anyone. Anyway.
And then
obviously, I think this is the position with the most players, because obviously. There's always been strikers, but there's sometimes not been 10s. There's not always been a 10. Some teams
number 9's always
some teams that play with wingers. The midfield sort of changed over the years, and so is the 5 back, 4 back. But everyone always, usually, unless there's a false 9, there's always been a striker.
But really, the only 2 teams that have won a league with a false 9 was City last year, with Foden as a false 9, and Bobby Firmino.
Yeah.
So everybody else has a number 9. So obviously we've got
Henry,
Aguero. Henry would be there. I mean, Henry should be there. He is probably the greatest player the Prem's ever seen. Because he went when I was 5 years old. He went to Barcelona.
What did he go Barcelona? 7.
I think it was 06 or 7, right?
He played in the 06 Champions League final for Arsenal.
And then I think he gave it one more year before he went.
So 2008. So I was 9. So I did watch a bit of Henry. I think I watched some more Henry games live. when they played us. But I was too young to remember it.
Yeah. Obviously, we had Drogba.
Seen clips. Drogba
again left in 2012. If we don't count the season where he was about 40, he come back just to be like a cheerleader in the dressing room, basically.
I mean, I think we're getting down to, we're narrowing it down to one name.
Yeah.
Harry Kane, not one enough.
Just win a trophy.
Just win a trophy.
Just win it. And obviously the thing is, he's had chances in multiple cup finals and didn't do anything.
Yeah,
and
then obviously Shearer and Andy Cole and all that with Van Nistelrooy. I mean, Van Persie was unreal for that Man United for that season, but again, he's not the best.
And then the issue is he was at Man United for 2 years after that and didn't really.
No,
he was probably still their best players. I think he was there for the first Van Gaal season. I think he left in 15.
He only did 2 seasons.
No, he was there for 3 because I remember
he did a
was
Sir
there
Alex
for the first
season and he did a Moyes season and he left. I'm pretty sure.
Let's have a look. Let's have a fact check. So he left his first season away was 15-16. So we did 12-13, 13-14, 14-15.
So we did a Sir Alex season, a Moyes season, and a Van Gaal season.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that you don't remember him doing the last
exactly.
season
I thought he'd left already.
No, but let's just say the name. It is Aguero.
Sergio Aguero.
Probably the second best goal scorer the Prem has ever seen after Alan Shearer. So the best goal scorer in our time. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, unbelievable. Really. I mean,
if he didn't,
I was always terrified of him.
If he didn't have glass knees, he would have broken Shearer's record easily.
Yeah,
best goals to game ratio of any striker in the Prem, of any player in the Prem.
He could do everything. He was fast. He was strong. He had a good shot. He could build up play.
He was so good at dribbling. That's the thing as well.
Dribbler,
the amount of goals where he just dribbled through players like a winger and then just smash it in from any angle. Ridiculous. So that is Aguero. So our team is Ivanovic.
Put it on the screen now.
Yeah, so it's Van der Sar, Ivanovic, Kompany, Terry, Cole, Torre, Kante, De Bruyne,
Salah,
Rooney, Salah, and Aguero. So if I get up the names that we might have missed, so in goal we had Alisson, Peter Cech, De Gea, Jens Lehmann somehow in this BBC. We're taking off. The inspiration basically comes from BBC released an article. Lloris is nowhere near. Schmeichel, Seaman, and Van der Sar. So we picked Van der Sar there. Defenders, we had Tony Adams, Trent,
Steve Bruce.
That's what I got. Steve Bruce was a great centre back in the day.
João Cancelo
is nowhere near.
Desai, I mean, really.
Desai was only here for about 2 or 3 years.
Dixon.
Actually got Lee Dixon,
Dennis Irwin,
as we mentioned, Stuart Pearce. Yeah, Vidic and Colwood. So we mentioned all the defenders, so we won't see anybody there. Midfielders, Xabi Alonso.
No, but interesting one.
No.
Bale we mentioned. We'll just mention the ones we didn't mention.
Yeah.
Freddie Ljungberg, we didn't mention him, or Perez, both good players. But
Scholes, obviously. Scholes is probably a better 8 than Lampard and Gerrard, right?
Yeah.
I think Lampard was an attacking midfielder. That's the thing. Like in the prime years of Lampard, he wasn't even playing in the same position as Gerrard and Scholes. It's just because they've all retired now. It's so much easier to just they're English midfielders, stick them together.
Yeah. Where does Mercar on?
We have missed one player for the left wing, Son Heung-min.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
but
he has to be in a conversation. If he
again, he's same reason with Kane. He's just not.
If he'd won a Prem, then I think Hazard would be shaking in his boots.
Yeah.
I think Son would seriously be pressuring him. But the fact that Hazard has dragged us to titles in the same season that Son was at Spurs is also a giveaway. Bale's in here as a midfielder and a forward, the only player. So Cantona only had a few years really. Cole,
Robbie Fowler, never watched him really. I mean, I watched him at City for a little bit.
Michael Owen. No, Sheringham. Oh, Son's in there as a forward as well.
Suarez we didn't mention. How do you not mention Suarez?
Because I don't think he's better than Aguero.
No, and also he didn't.
He had one unbelievable season and left immediately. Yeah, and that was it. He sort of had a few years where it was sort of like. Preparing to get there, and then
I'd like to honourable mention to Jamie Vardy. I mean, if Jamie Vardy was in, I know people always say about Jamie Vardy, but if he was in the Prem since he's about 20, he'd be on about 180, wouldn't he? He'd probably be on Aguero numbers if he was. Yeah, he'd be one of the greats of all time in the Premier League.
It's just
he could be Premier League top goal. Is he hit 100 goals?
Yeah, he's definitely hit 100. I think he's on about 120 now. Which is ridiculous.
So
he started when he was 27.
He'd be on. I think Shearer's 260 something, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he'd be close to that. He'd be very close to that.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy. I mean, and everyone loves Jamie Vardy. Just he's like the neutral striker, isn't he? Vardy.
He's love-hate, isn't he?
Yeah, Ian Wright and then Gianfranco Zola, who I mean, Chelsea hero. I don't know if he's a Premier League all-timer just because he was there. He was there at a bad time. If Zola was there when we had Abramovich, it would be.
He used to be another player. Yeah.
No. I think he would have won the Prems and things to boost his.
Oh yeah, true.
To boost his legacy, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, we're just gonna squeeze in under an hour. It's been longer than I thought it would be actually. But yeah, so we've done recap. Predict our predictions, and obviously the main event really was the 11. Let us know your 11s.
And we didn't have as many. I thought we were going to have a lot more debates. I thought you were going to be adamant. Like, I don't even know why you're mentioning Eden Hazard. Like, I thought you were going to be like. Right,
I know, but I could make up debates and arguments for the sake of it. But what's the point, really? Isn't it? You know what I mean? I could say no way Hazard, but on his day, he was one of the best left wings in the Premier League. Yeah. If you were certain he's going in, that's where I would have put my foot down. But you weren't obviously going to be that deluded.
It's just always the issue with Hazard is that he should have been more. He's an all-time great, but he should have been more. Same with Neymar. Neymar's an all-time great.
Yeah.
Should be.
Both have that over them.
It's a shame.
More ability than what they actually achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking when we were doing it halfway through, if Boyd was here, do you reckon he'd try and sneak any Villa players into this?
Left winger. I was going to say if Grealish hadn't left for Man City, he'd be trying.
Yeah, he'd be trying. Yeah.
Agbonlahor might be in there instead of
Agbonlahor's
Aguero.
great striker.
Gareth Barry as a pure DM.
He left though.
No, I don't.
Probably not. He's not that deluded.
No.
But yeah, cheers for tuning in. In the comments, if you could put down your Premier League 11, see how it differs from ours.
And obviously, Henry is striker, but we never watched make it your lifetime.
Not the If I was just doing it, I'd have to put Henry in there as in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
watched.
If
it was an all-time, we would have 4-4-2 with Shearer and Henry up front. That's just a given. But because it isn't,
we just wanted to mix it up a little bit. If we just picked the best 11, it'd be the same as most people.
And we'd also just be stealing it off articles of people.
Yeah,
people
not our own.
Us. It's not our opinion because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But yeah, so that's our opinion on our best Premier League 11. I say we did. No, we did. Last year, I think we did.
We did like a top 50 players of all time.
No, but we did do that. But we also did our 11, not just Premier League, but from just the 2010s.
Oh, Team of the Decade.
Team of the Decade.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that is. In fact, if Dan wants to do a team at home, we'll put our Team of the Decade up there to remind people.
I don't know how many Prem players we would have put in there. I
can't remember. I'd actually be interested to see what it is.
Our Team of the Decade would have just been Barcelona and Real Madrid.
I think Iniesta, Messi, Ronaldo, just players like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to compare our Premier League because I mean we have put like Ashley Cole and players like that. Not many players to be fair, but from before 2010s. But
I think if the teams played each other.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting.
But I think most of our picks have been from after 2010, so it's going to be quite a similar period of players. But yeah, I think we're just going to sneak in under an hour because actually we did have a gap in that. Yeah. But yeah, cheers for watching. And where's the outro, Dan?
It is right there.